Alright, what's up there everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I made a video. Decided to get out from behind the desk and come talk about my new AD200 by Godox that I picked up. Got to use it a little bit. I really got to put it through the test at a wedding this past weekend, and I picked up a new 85 1.8 for my Nikon, and in conjunction these two together worked pretty well. And when I use a lot of high-speed sync, I like to create a lot of dramatic light effects in my photos. Out on events where you got to pack light and pack small, I bring my Speedlights, and there's just so many times where even at full power, bare speed light, no modifier, it's just not enough light, especially if I'm going to shoot it 1/4000th of a second, ISO 100, to really bring down that ambient. So if I don't have an assistant with me in order to capture this look and light my subject how I need, I'll put a speed light on a light stand, my camera will be on a tripod, and even at full power, that speed light is a matter of 3 or 4 feet away. And if you're trying to capture any part of the surroundings, your stand's going to be in the shot. There's just no way around it. So in order to fix that, you got to put it on a tripod, take your shot, move back up, move the light stand, come back, take another shot, tell your subject to hold still so you can go mask it out in Photoshop later. And when it comes to clients paying money and you're working on the fly, let's be honest, ain't nobody got time for that. So that can be a problem. But with this new Godox AD200, the power output you can do with that is amazing. I shot a few images at this past wedding, an f1.8 ISO 100, 1/4000th of a second, and my light stand is nowhere near in the frame. It's a good 6-7 feet away easily, and I'm shooting half power, quarter power. I don't even think I've had to push it up to full power yet. And it did the job perfectly. I was using the mag sphere. Sometimes I would stack it with the grid, sometimes double grid it just to knock it down a little bit more, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. This AD200 is barely bigger than one of my Speedlights. It fits on a stand and goes wherever you need it to go very quickly. Easy to adjust. It's very simple to set up. The light power adjustments are easy to handle. It's got a modeling light on it that's not quite powerful, but in a dark room I see how it could be handy. I would highly recommend the Godox AD200. I think the Flashpoint Evolve is the other version. Same flash, just different name, rebranded. I think that one's sold by Adorama. But it works great. In 3 different shoots with it so far. I haven't had to recharge the battery yet. So I coupled this light with my new Nikon 85 1.8. I got some samples I want to go over. I took a few wide angle shots with it also indoors using my Tamron 28-75 2.8, and we'll go over some of those photos too, just behind the inspiration, kind of how I set it all up. And at the end I have a little mashup video that I did with the wedding couple. I just set my gimbal up on a stand, recorded one photo session at the end of the day before we left, and you can go ahead and check that out and see the light in action. So before I freeze my butt off anymore out here, it's about in the low 40s out here. It's starting to rain when I set up the camera on the gimbal, and my ears are freezing, hands are freezing. So I'm gonna get back in the truck and warm up, and we'll take a look at some of these photos and see what's going on. Alright, here's the portion where we can go ahead and take a look at the photos. I wanted to pull this one up first to talk about it, because this is by far my favorite image I took during the wedding, and one of my favorite images I've taken to date. And for this one, I remember being upstairs during the reception, taking a lot of photos, and I come walking up to the staircase and just to peek down to see what was going on, and I see the way the staircase angled, and I could see the floor, I could see the chandelier, everything in the frame just immediately gave me this impression of wanting to get the couple down there and capture everything in this view. They spent a lot of money on this place. It's one thing just to get photos of them, but they want to remember the atmosphere they were in also. So I pulled out my Tamron 28-75 2.8, and I dropped it down all the way to 28 millimeters, and this is the view I got from very top step. You can see the railing going down. You can see the shadows going across the floor down there. The chandelier looks great, and I just wanted to make this happen. I talked them into getting down there. I took the Godox AD200 and had it to the right of the bride. I guess it would be underneath the stairs, underneath me where I was standing. I put a sphere on it and a grid on it, and the light coming from behind the couple towards that back wall is one bare Godox TT685. I turned it and bounced it off the wall, and it was maybe on 1/64th power, but the AD200 was, I think, turned down as low as it would go. I took this shot with the Nikon D600 ISO 200 1/80th of a second at f3.2. So after I captured this one, I immediately knew, looking on the back of my camera, that it was going to be one of my favorites I've done as of yet, and I knew they would love it. So I'm really glad I was able to get this one done. I've seen some photos similar to this online with large staircases, and I haven't really had the opportunity in shooting, over 70 weddings to really set this up. I've had many staircases, some that look nice, but nothing really with this, viewpoint to where as soon as I came to the top of the steps, looked down, and this idea just hit me. So I was really glad I can get this one taken care of. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next image. So for this next image, I wanted to display this one to show some of the high-speed sync work that goes on here. Just to get the metadata really quick, I shot it at 1/4000th of a second, fastest shutter speed my camera will do. It's on the Nikon D750. I used the 85 1.8D version, and I shot it at 1.8, and my ISO was all the way down to 100. So to capture something like this in natural light, you would have pretty much white blown out skies. You'd have to expose for the skin tones of your subject, so it would blow out her dress quite a bit. You wouldn't have very much shadow detail in there, and it could still be a nice image, but I like to create the dramatic effect. I like the high contrast, the colors, the deep dark shadows. And in order to do this, you're going to need a lot of flash power with those settings you got to dial in on the camera. So we're walking back from doing some wedding party photos, and I just had them stop and turn around when I kind of saw this railing there behind them, saw the trees, blue skies, had him come up close, wrap his arms around her. I had her put her left hand on top of his, that way we could see the ring, and just relax her bouquet so they look nice and comfortable. So after we got this set up, the light was maybe 5 feet away to my right hand side, up against that railing there next to him, and I think I had it dialed in at half power with a Magnetmod sphere on it. And within just a couple of exposures, we got that light dialed in, and we're able to come up with this nice dramatic look. To me, this really sets it apart. It really separates your subject from the background, and it gets out of the trend of most natural light stuff you see that's pretty common today. Now for this next set, one's a natural light photo and the other one is where I pulled in the flash, and I just kind of want to just show you the difference we can get here. So the first photo, again with the Nikon D750, ISO 400 1/1600th of a second at 1.8. It looks nice, it's exposed properly, their skin tones look good. They were standing in the shade at this point, so we were able to expose for their skin tones and keep the details in her dress. But I wanted to make a little more dramatic effect of it and separate them from the background a little more. I shot 1/4000th of a second, dropped my ISO back down to 100, again at f1.8, but with this here, I was able to darken down that church in the background, separate them from the background a little bit more. So in this next image here, get those nice dark rich shadows in there, nice contrast, and that light, I believe this was maybe quarter power, was able to really pop it there and just add some different effect to it. And this is kind of what I like to go for. This shot was also done with the mag sphere on there, and I don't believe I used any grids on it. So for this next shot with him on the staircase, from the angle I was standing down there, we'd done a shot with the bride sitting on the stairs, and they kind of started walking their way back up, and I was going to pack up the lights and meet them back upstairs. But when they got up to this next level, I just told them to go ahead and stop, and they both turned and looked at me. He wrapped his arm around her, and at that point, I saw the angle that I wanted. So I had her lean in a little bit more, place her hand on his chest. I had him look up the stairs where I placed the AD200, and they just looked nice and relaxed, nice and comfortable. So for the lighting on this, I double stacked 2 grids on there, and I put a sphere on it. And because I stacked it so much with the grids, I had to shoot it at full power in order to light them up. But I wanted to make sure the subject stood out, and I wanted to keep the bottom of the frame as dark as possible, because underneath the stairs on the wall there were some frames that I'm sure if you look close enough you'll be able to notice, but I just needed to keep that from being very distracting and taken away from the couple. This one was shot with the Nikon D600 1/160th of a second, ISO 160, f4.5 to make sure everything was in focus, and I used the Tamron 28-75 and shot it at 35 millimeters. This is definitely one of my favorites from the set, along with the other shot that we saw from the staircase. I want to talk about this last one here using high-speed sync, because in a lot of events or a lot of situations, things like this happen where you have stuff in the background that you don't always necessarily want to see. when we were outside the venue getting ready to go do wedding party photos, I wanted to get a shot of him, but we're outside. It's downtown San Antonio, Texas, and it's great weather, so of course the streets are flooded with people. So I knew I had to shoot this at f1.8. But if I were to shoot this natural light f1.8, you know, the background would just be completely blown out, and I didn't want that to happen. I wanted these nice rich colors, nice contrast, dark shadows like I've mentioned previously. So it turned the ISO again down to 100, 1/4000th of a second, fastest shutter I can get at f1.8. So now to expose for my subject, you're going to have to pump out a lot of flash power. With a speed light, you'd be putting this almost directly in the frame with a bare bulb at full power in order to light him up this way. But with the AD200, I was able to keep it 6 or 7 feet away with the mag sphere on it, so I have some sort of diffusion in front, and I believe I shot it at half power, and we were able to come up with this photo to where you can tell there are some subjects there in the background, but nothing sharp, and it's not distracting, really taking away from the subject matter on his important day. So thanks everybody for sticking around, checking out some of the photos that I took from this wedding. Thanks for listening about the AD200 and the 85 1.8. Hopefully you can look at some of these photos, get inspired to go out, capture some on your own, and I highly recommend getting the Godox AD200. You will not be disappointed. I'm going to go ahead and add in just a quick little mashup of the photo shoot we did upstairs in the balcony. You can see some of the stuff we did there, some natural light, some high-speed sync, and I'll throw in some more samples from the wedding too at the end of the video. So just remember, if you're ever going to go out and capture something, you're not going to make it happen by sitting on your couch. So until next time, thanks for tuning in. Get up, get out, and get shooting.